Alrighty, in the previous video we talked about the navbar section. We have our navbar here, and in this video we're gonna do something like here, our hero section, and it's gonna be like a background image and some content on top of it. So let's get started. Back to our code over here, I have my body section, I've added my nav over here, and then what I'm gonna do over here, I'm gonna add a new div class and I'm gonna call it welcome. And we can do that by starting to type dot and then welcome. When I said I'm gonna call it welcome, I meant I'm gonna assign a class name to it. So classes, if you remember, like we had it up here as well, like container fluid, or like I had the headshot here. The headshot was the one that we defined ourselves. The rest of them, they came from Bootstrap. So all these class names basically gave us some pre-stylings for the nav bar over here, and also the text and like this hover effect over here, you see that. And then headshot was the only one that we added. We can do the same over here. So I'm typing dot welcome, and then once I enter, this is gonna give me a div with the class welcome. And then inside here, I'm gonna have some headlines like heading 1, heading 2. So I'm gonna do head 1. Here, I'm gonna do welcome to my portfolio, for example. This can be whatever you wanna say. And then we'll have like, oops, I shouldn't have done that. We'll have like another h2. Let's say over here, h2, I'll do subscribe to my newsletter below. So the idea is I'm having this like headline here, and then like another like a little bit smaller size text, and then like a form value here, form field there. So what I'm gonna do here, if I save it right as it is right now, so you'll see everything over here. And now we want to have this thing styled and like in the middle of the page. So we'll get to the styling of it in a second, but let's go to Bootstrap. One of the other things that you can get from Bootstrap is pre-made kind of forms, and you can see it over here if you scroll up on this left side. Forms over here, I have overview here, and then you can basically see different types of formats for the forms. This is similar to what I'm gonna use, so you could technically grab this one and edit it, but right now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start with adding a div, which is gonna be like this surrounding div over here. Actually, let's grab this over here. I'm gonna grab this, and if I paste it over here right under my h2 and save it, you'll see over here I have that form ready for me right over here. We don't want this password, so we can get rid of that. If we look at this over here, that would be this label right here. So we can actually get rid of the whole label and then the class above it, because that's the only thing which is inside this div. It's only the label is there, so we can get rid of that. I'm gonna save this now. Now I have my field over here. By the way, you can click on it and start typing. It's password right now, so by default it's gonna be kind of like how password would look like. So it's just like dots as you type, but we can fix that. So every input has a type, and input is basically this input field, and input tag is that field. And then to type password, we don't want it to be password, we want it to be a simple text type. We don't really need this ID, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And then for class, I'll keep it as form control here. because that's a class that Bootstrap wants to kind of like style it and also do some other stuff with the form, like probably kind of like maybe validation stuff or other things. So that form control, we should keep that over here. And then we don't need this guy here. What I want to have is like the Netflix website over here. I want to have like a text inside this guy over here. And for that, we need to add a placeholder. Placeholder is what will be put inside this input here. So I will say email address, and then there's also another property we can add, and that's called required. And as the name suggests, it means that we need to have this this form filled. So like we need to have something inside it, otherwise you can't submit the form. And then lastly, we go down to this span over here. We don't really want to say like it needs to be 8 characters or something. Over here we're gonna add a button that will tell like, hey, subscribe here, like what we have here, get started, or for our case it's gonna be subscribe. And so Bootstrap gives us some pre-made buttons as well, and to get those we need to add 2 classes, .btn, like class btn, and right after it no space .btn dash primary. Then you hit enter. This is gonna give you 2 classes. I'm gonna format the page right now, so Option Shift F or Alt Shift F. So we saw a little bit formatting here. And then for my button here, I wanted to say subscribe. Now button and button primary, again, if you go to for the Bootstrap over here, you can look like search up here for button, but over here you have button. So this one, button primary, is what we just added, and that's this blue one. They have secondary, success, danger, warning, info, and so on. We could have done, let's see, probably we could have done maybe info looks better. Let's try button info. Where are you? Info. And then subscribe. Yeah, it looks good. So we have our button here and the word subscribe there, and we can start typing here and we should see the text here. So if there's nothing there and I hit subscribe, it's not gonna work because I wanted it to be required. So that's why we added here required. Okay, that's that. The other thing we need to actually do is to change this to a button element. So because we want to say, hey, this button is gonna take care of submitting the form. And also we want to make sure that this whole thing is actually a form. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna say, hey, this div is actually a form, and then here the closing tag needs to be a form also. And over here I'm gonna say this subscribe is actually a button, and this one is a button. So the previously when I said like I click on this nothing happens, that was actually nothing was supposed to happen because that was just a simple div there. Now if I turn it to a button, it's actually a button right now. So you can see if I click, you can see that click event, and it will actually tell us, hey, please fill out this field. And that should be good for now. We may come back later and make fixes on this one, but at this point I think we're good. We might actually go ahead right now and add a type over here. We want to make sure that this is the submit button for this form. This type submit kind of tells this form that And this is gonna be taking care of the submitting the button, just to make sure that we are safe. We did see without that also it was like kind of doing the same thing, but just to play safe, I'm gonna add that here as well. So that should be good. This section is good. Now all we need to do is style it like what we see here in the Netflix website, and that should happen in the CSS file. So keep in mind we have this welcome class, and then we have our form over here. So for the welcome class, let's actually make a quick change to what we have to our index.html file. I'm gonna wrap this whole thing here. So everything that I have, I'm gonna put it inside a section. So we can define a section here. And if you type section and enter, it's gonna give you a section. I also want a class. So I wanna have a class of hero over here. You could have done it easier with like section dot hero, and this would have done the same, so it doesn't matter either way. Now I want to put everything that I have over here inside that, so I will put everything inside here and make sure to format it again, Alt Shift F or Option Shift F. So now everything is inside my hero section, and let's see. Okay, let's save it. Nothing really happened here. Now we only have like a section over here that kind of wraps around all we have. What I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna give my hero a width of, let's say, 100 viewport height. We probably talked about this in one of the previous videos. Viewport height is what you see here, your viewport, not like the whole screen over here, but the viewport height. And it's like just what you see in the screen. So part of the screen, that's the website, the height of this one screen. Okay, so let's go back to hero, to our styles.css. Over here, what I'm gonna do, I am going to start assigning some styles to my hero section. So dot hero, because it's a class name, I'm gonna say my height is 100 viewport height. Okay, so let's see how that looks like. Nothing changed here, but if you hover over here, you'll see that now this hero section is occupying the whole screen over here. And then I also want to have a background image over here. Now we can actually grab this background image from Netflix, and I'll show you how you can do that. So if you right click over here, you can open image in new window, and when you go there, you can get this right here, this URL, and you can see it's like an image, like .jpg file, so that's good. Go back to your styles.css. We're gonna assign a background image. As you start typing background, you'll see these suggestions, background image. And since we have a URL, we can use the URL over here, and it's gonna be kind of like string here, so make sure to open your single quotes or double quote, doesn't matter, and then paste the thing over here. So this is my background image. If I save right now, you see there it is. So I have this background image right here, and you can do more adjustments to the background image, because you see like right now it's kind of feels like it's stretched. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Like you can see these are like smaller over here, but this looks kind of like stretched. So there are some additional things you can do here. I don't go into details, but I'll just show you. So you can do background repeat and do like no repeat here. So this is in case like your background is smaller kind of than your screen. So if it would take only this part, it would like repeat it over and over again so that it takes the whole screen. And then we can have a background size also over here, and we can set it as cover. If we do that, you can see like the image is actually like a little bit smaller, more closer to what we have here. And that's what the cover does, kind of like make sure to cover the whole screen and like not stretch anything. And yeah, that should be good for this one. Let's go ahead and style our text. So our text in this here over here is inside our welcome class. So I'm gonna target my welcome class here, welcome. And then for this, we can actually do a little bit of not complicated, but I wouldn't say this is like beginner level, a little bit of intermediate level of styling. We're gonna use something called Flexbox, and I put a link in the description box below this video to this website here. It explains what Flexbox is, and this is a very common way of putting things in different like columns and rows of your website. You can see like a lot of examples here, and we're gonna use that. Basically what you can do a display of flex. That's gonna give you a flex box, and then you'll tell if my flex box is gonna be stacking things vertically or horizontally. So that is the flex direction. Right now I want everything to be vertical, so the direction for vertical is column. So if it was like horizontal, we could do row. By default it's row, so if you don't define it, it's gonna be row. And let's see how that will look like. So you can see like I have everything in one row over here, okay? And then if I change it to column, now they're gonna be like they were here. But the main reason we did this is because I want to kind of like do some alignment and justification. So I'm gonna justify content center and align content center, align item center, and I will let you know what these are. So if I save it, you see that like the text is now in the center of the screen. But I also wanted to move it a little bit down, kind of like in the middle-ish. You could do that for now. We're just gonna add a little bit of margin top to this. So here margin top, let's do like 20, no, maybe 100 pixel, oops, 100 pixel. And then you'll see, hey, it's a little bit down. Maybe you want it to do more. And it looks good. Every time you do these things, you better like check in mobile also. Hey, this is like probably not good for mobile, so you don't want to do margin top here. What I suggest you to do is to get rid of this margin top. And again, this is a little bit of intermediate CSS stuff. What we have here is this nav bar and then this guy over here. So my nav bar, we want it to be, let's say 75 pixels. So what was my nav bar over here? I have a class called navbar, so I can target that one over here. I'll say, hey, my navbar, let's do height of 75 pixel. Okay, now I'm gonna save it. Now my nav bar is 75 pixel over here, as you can see, and if you like hover over it, you can see over here the box that appears on the left side. It's 1000 by 75, and 75 is the height. Now the whole thing is 100 viewport height. If I want to calculate the size of here, basically all the way down to here, so everything but the nav bar, I can do that with some CSS, and that's easy. You can do it here. You can assign height over here. There are multiple ways to do it, but this is an easy way. You can use the calc function here. It will be 100 viewport height minus 75 pixel. Okay, so let's see. And now this guy over here will have that 75 pixel. Now since we set that to that height, this by automatically was moved down. So if I disable this thing, like let's uncheck it, now it goes up. When I checked it, it went down there. It was because of the justify content and align item that we did. So for justify content, if I uncheck it, it's gonna go back up. When we justify center a column, it's gonna bring it to the center of the column. And then when we align item center, it's gonna bring it over like horizontally to the center. So again, if we uncheck both of these, it's gonna go up here. We want them center, so justify will bring it center vertically, and then we have a line item to center it horizontally. So now it's in the center. If we go back to mobile, it's still gonna stay in the center because we are not assigning any like hard-coded value. When I say hard-coded, I mean pixel. Pixel is hard-coded, and no matter what screen you go, this is gonna always be 75 pixels. And that's fine because 75 pixel, it's not too much. But the 100 viewport height depends on your screen size. It's gonna always be the height of your screen. So here, this whole thing is 100 viewport height. If I go to desktop, this whole thing is 100 viewport height. So it's kind of like relative. So if you try and use that for your like the height of your element, then it will be adjusted based on like the size of the height of the screen. So we have this now, and one last thing I want to do, maybe there is not much contrast between these two. There is a more advanced way of giving some opacity to this background to be like a little bit like darker, so this white color shows better on top of it. But I'm actually going to do the easier way here, and that's I'm going to add a background color to the welcome section itself. So this section, if I hover over my welcome, is this whole thing, anything but the nav bar in my screen right now. So if I save it, it gives it a little bit of darker background. So let's see, welcome over here. I have this like background, and I have like played with the value over here. You can like select this square right here and like play with it, which one like looks best. So for example, this is better. So you can grab this number over here and copy it, and then back over here. Make sure to get rid of everything, and then here, and then save it. And now you have that over here. So if I refresh that, and then welcome, it's now like the zeros and 82. That's basically like a dark background so that you can have more contrast between these two. This actually looks really good, right? Doesn't it? Okay, so this is good for this video. We have this section as well. Now in the next video, we'll talk about the about section. And if we have time, we might also look at the work section. But we will also have different videos for the contact section. And by the way, this form right now doesn't work. So if I click on it, yeah, it gives me nothing is there. But like if I start typing here at whatever dot com, then I hit submit, it's gonna refresh the page and it's gonna add this question mark here, which that's not what we want. So we want to actually have the like email sent to us somehow. So we'll take care of that also in a video as well. So all right, that's for now. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn the notification bell on, because I will be posting the video about the next sections in the coming days. So make sure that you are notified. Thank you.